smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house. That's right. And this afternoon we had an incredible duo in the house with Empower Trip. But tonight we have an incredible man in the house, and his name is Michael Walton, and we're going to be talking about his APOC series. That's right, we're going to get deep and we're going to talk about his book series. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Get over to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, all of those good platforms. Give those a like, follow, subscribe, and get these tea times out there, because they do make a difference for the guests and for anybody that resonates with the topics that we have on board. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then let's get Michael in here. And tonight's tea that we're serving is identity, accident, and author. Those are the words that we are serving tonight with Michael Walton and his tea. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decisions that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com, or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you're ready. Tea Time at Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time where Miss Liz, where the real stories meet real awareness and where lived experiences often become the most powerful teacher. Today's guest brings us a conversation that goes beyond fiction. Please welcome Michael Walton, author of APOC series. Michael's writing is deeply rooted in lived experience. His stories explore the realities of life on the streets, the struggles many people face, but few openly talk about, and the resilience it takes to survive environments shaped by hardship, choices, and circumstances. Through the APOC series, he transforms real-life lessons into powerful storytelling that reflects both the darkness and the determination that exists in the human journey. Michael's work reminds us that stories can serve as mirrors, helping us better understand the strength it takes to rise above them. So grab your cup and lean in. Tonight's Tea Time takes us from the streets to the page, where experience becomes voice and storytelling becomes awareness. And let me get Michael in here and let's spill some tea. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much, Liz. Appreciate that.
It is an honor to have you here, Michael. So let's get started with who was Michael as a little guy and who is Michael now?
Okay. You want me to just dive in?
Dive in. We dive in deep on this show.
As a little guy, very busy. And I guess my nickname in policing kind of reflects that as well. I don't think I've really slowed down much. My nickname in policing is Turbo. Um, Within certain circles, I've been called many names, some good, some not so good. But Turbo's the one that's lasted the longest. Little guy, I was um, grew up in Northern Ontario, Canada. We lived, so my mother had me very young. She was 17 when she had me. She moved back home to live with her mother and her stepfather and the family because it was hard to make it on her own. So I had the benefit of having, there were 7 in the family, so I had the 6 other children as older siblings, and a lot of playtime outside, a lot of time outside actually. And yeah, so who I am now, I still enjoy being outside, but being a writer, I find myself behind a keyboard more often than not, and that kind of also translates with my policing journey. I spend a lot of time behind a keyboard, working the investigations that I do. A lot of people don't know. The movies and television shows don't really give it justice. You spend a lot of time behind a computer when you're an investigator. Um, I don't know the proper ratio, but it's for me, like my role as a search warrant writer is probably 90-10. So 90,
Ooh.
yeah. But
That's interesting, right? Because for people like myself, we don't realize how much work is behind that keyboard when you're investigating a case.
it depends on the case. So like smaller cases, it could be a 50-50, but a lot of the cases I've worked, like murders, you're as a search warrant writer, all that information is coming into you and you have to make sense of it and then be able to explain it to the judge so that you can further investigation. So all investigations, more so in Canada, I can't speak about the States, but are held back by the search warrant writer. So they need to open those doors, whether it's physically, going through a bad guy's house door, or, you're going to a telco seeking information to link their phone number to somebody else's phone number. And then like, so you have to make all those linkages and it's a lot of work behind the scenes.
Well, we have a question here for you, Michael, and it's how did your experience as a police officer shape your storytelling?
Well, that's a very good question. So, I started my family also young. Um, so I was 21 when I had my first son. I was still in school at the time. Um, so fast forward into policing when I became a cop also young at 24. And all my hopes and dreams that I was working on kind of like they all got pushed to the side. This is my focus. I'm here to do a job so I can provide for my family. Um, and I just put my head down and just went to work. Now, getting into all the different investigative fields, I've been in drug enforcement, I've been in guns and gangs, I've been in internal affairs, all come back to the computer. So this is where I really excelled, was writing and putting all that information together. And I didn't understand how that determination or that the skill of being behind the computer all the time, like it's hard for an ADHD person like myself who likes to be on the go all the time to sit there. Like it took me a while to really, my first big murder investigation, it was a struggle to sit behind the computer to keep doing it day in and day out. And was mostly my job. So then fast forward, when I started writing, I used those skills to sit behind the keyboard and it wasn't as difficult and it allowed me to flow. But I mean, I had other things that helped me sit behind the keyboard when I was writing too. I was hit by a car, training for a triathlon. So I couldn't move. And the doctors didn't think I was ever going to do anything ever again. And they asked me, what are you going to do? It just so happened I was playing around working on a novel in my downtime as like a stress reliever. And when they said that, like, hey, I don't think you're going to be a cop. What are you going to do? And I was like, I guess I'll just keep working on my book, because I was unemployable. Like, my body was broken at the time. My brain was broken at the time. I couldn't stay on my feet long enough because of the body injuries. So answering that question is, policing had a very strong impact on me being able to be a writer, because it gave me the discipline to sit behind that keyboard. Without it, I wouldn't never have finished one novel, let alone 3.
Well, I'm going to pull up your books so everybody can see the amazing books that you've written, and then we're going to talk a little bit about them. So if you want to tell us a little bit about these books, Michael.
So moving left to right, that's how they were released. The first novel is the one on the left. It's APOC. It was released in 2013, then 2019, then 2025. The 2013 one, so I was hit by a car in 2011. That's how, like, because I couldn't return to work, it gave me more time at home to work on the novel. And then the other novels took 6 years to make because I was back on the job working again as much as I could. Especially the third one. Third one's 40,000 words bigger than the other 2. I was working a ton of, I was on a really big investigation for that third one. Anyways, the first one, as I said, after my accident, but it was spawned before my accident, like I was saying. I was involved in a really politically challenging investigation, and I was very, very frustrated. I work out regularly. It has always helped relieve that stress, relieve frustration, but it didn't matter what I did on this case. I could work out 3 hours a day. It wouldn't relieve the stress. It was New Year's Eve, or just shortly after New Year's. Everybody at the office was talking about New Year's resolutions. I thought it was a joke, because I'm like I said, once I entered the workforce, I just put my head down and worked. And they're like, what are you laughing about? I'm like, well, that's kid stuff. Like, New Year's resolutions, kid stuff. And I grabbed my stuff from the printer. I started walking back to my office, and there was a group of them, and they're all huddled around, and they yelled, "So you've done everything you've wanted to do with your life?" And I walked back to my office, and it was just the perfect time, because if that question was asked, a year earlier, it never would have resonated with me. But it was the perfect time. I was frustrated. There was a whole bunch of things going on, and I went back to my office. I started thinking about all the hopes and dreams I had. I went to university to be a writer, but after my kid was born, I decided to drop out because I wanted to provide for my family. I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money when I grew up. So I wanted to provide for my family. I didn't want that. I saw my student loan rising, and I wanted to work. So I'm sitting there at my office, and all my hopes and dreams are flashing before my head. And I'm like, holy cow, what can I do? And one by one, some of them, the hopes and dreams flash by pretty quick, and you're able to discount them. But then writing just stuck. Because after 9/11, this story idea just populated in my head, and I couldn't shake it. It haunted me up until the day I started writing it, which was right after this was brought up. So it just kept coming up, and I'm like, I'm busy. I have 2 kids. I have a job. I have this. I have that. I don't have time to write. And I just kept shelving it in the back of my mind. At that moment, though, after being asked that question, in that frustration, in that period of time, it just was like a flashing beacon saying, this is what you're supposed to do. Same thing after my car accident, that was the flashing beacon saying, this is what you're supposed to do. And here I am 3 novels later.
Well, Michael, we have a question here, and the question is, what was the most challenging case that influenced your writing?
Well, it would have been that one that I was speaking about. So politics, if you ask, so there's difference between police officers, there's difference between people. There's some people say there's cops and then there's police officers. So cops would say those are the guys that are head down, working the streets, trying to do whatever. So the day in, day out grinders. They would say, and I would agree with them, that they can deal with the bad guys all day long. You know what? Yeah, bad guys are yelling at you, bad guys are calling you all these names. You know, you can deal with that. It's the stuff behind the scenes. It's the stuff within the office. It's the stuff in the courts. That's what really frustrates, is hard to deal with. It doesn't, because it's not commonsensical.
Yeah.
You know, you deal, like, the law is black and white, but then when you move behind the scenes, it's not black and white anymore. It becomes a lot more gray. And it all depends on politics in some cases. This particular case was extremely political. I've worked corruption. Like I said, I worked internal affairs. So this case was just very political. And that's what was the frustrating part, because it wasn't operating commonsensically. It was operating with different agendas. And then the courts is another issue altogether. That's just hard to wrap your head around, because now you have a whole bunch of agendas trying to. Anyways, I could talk a lot about the courts, but
I could talk about the courts a lot too. We could talk after the show about the. But
I have a lot of friends.
People do look at it, right, as black and white, Michael, and then when they get into it and they're really working it behind the scenes like you, then the gray comes in, then the other colors come in, and you're like, oh, this is not black and white no more.
Yeah, and it's hard to navigate that. I'm not an overly political person. I like to speak my mind. I like honesty. I think that's clarity. So when it starts going into all those different shades, it's like you don't know where people are coming from, and you don't know what the end goal is. And I just want to catch, like, to me, I just want to catch bad guys. I grew up, I saw, because of our because of a lot of things, and it's my decisions, I decided to, I was involved in some sports, and the group of people that I was hanging around with ended up going very dark. They got into drug dealing. They got into a whole bunch of all kinds of stuff. And I didn't separate myself from that as quickly as I should have. And I saw some things that has helped solidify my desire to chase criminals, because my friends who were there for each other, we all had kind of similar interests. It became gray, like I said. It wasn't about each other. It wasn't about taking care of each other. It became about money. It became about power. It became about status. And all those things didn't mean anything to me. And it was really gross how they were going about it. And so I've taken those experiences and I use them, and I've been very successful as a police officer because of that.
Michael, you said you came from Northern Ontario.
Yes.
I'm a Northern girl. I'm from Hearst. Were you close to Hearst?
Not that north. Sudbury.
Oh, Sudbury. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I have family in Sudbury too. So, but the scenery in the Northern Ontario area is very dark and very heavy. I grew up like you with poverty, not very much. My dad worked at a sawmill, and we pay paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't easy. A lot of alcoholism, a lot of abuse, a lot of stuff like that as well. And And you know that, and kind of that's why I asked you who you were as a little guy and who you are now, because we kind of switch the roles, right? When we get older, we don't want to have that same environment. We don't want our children to grow up in the same environment, So I could see why you went into police and catching the bad guys, because I want to be a private investigator, and I probably should be, because I find out some juicy stuff, guys.
Yeah, you definitely come into some juicy stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
Right?
I've
But
been involved in wiretaps, and that's like living a soap opera. You're listening. You're immersed in that person's life.
and I think that up north, you had to keep yourself busy, right?
Yes, Sudbury was a very rough town. Very, very rough town. If you had any nightlife whatsoever, if you stayed out too long, you were getting in a fight, whether you wanted to or not. That's just the way a lot of the bars were. And police were not coming to break up any fights. So if you were losing, it was going to be a bad day.
You were cleaning yourself up. Or you were getting the drunk tank for the night. Sleep it off.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, we have a question here, and it is, what inspired you to start writing crime fiction?
Thank you very much. I've always been a very creative person. When I was in school, I wrote a end of school play. We never ended up producing it, but I love creative writing, and that's what made me want to go to university for creative writing. The problem was coming from where I came from, coming from Sudbury, the goal seemed so big. It just seemed so unattainable that I didn't. And then my life situation entered the scene too, where it's just like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't going to happen. I'm wasting all this money. I need to put food on the table for my kid, my wife. It was just, so I just went back to my roots, just being creative. Now with policing, that really gave me a lot of substance to work with. So my novels are truth-based, like they're more reality-based, I guess. Not truth-based, reality-based, but they're fiction. And when I sit down to write them, I daydream. I literally daydream, and then I describe what my mind is putting together. And that's how I've written the 3 novels.
Well, the next question we have here is, what message do you want readers to take away from your stories?
What message? My stories, so my stories are pretty serious. There's no sugarcoating that. They're very serious novels. Deal with a lot of political issues. Little bit of foreshadowing, little bit of this, little bit of that. I've seen how the media can twist things to serve whatever purpose that they were trying to serve. Again, that political angle, their agenda. It's not to say all people in the media do it, but I've seen some big news stories I was like, wow, that is way wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for me, my story is about a police officer goes to jail for murder. A reporter is trying to figure out what really happened in an underground society. All those 3 concepts I deal with on a daily basis. So I work a lot of criminal organizations, and peeling back the layers and trying to identify who is who in those criminal organizations. Like it's the most satisfying part of the job when you're able to peel back those layers and see who's underneath. But that's also what I'm trying to do with the novel. And I write it in a way that it's like investigating a crime. The first book gets you under so many layers. The next book gets you under so many layers, and you keep seeing deeper down the rabbit hole. The message would be, don't judge every book by its cover, even though I really love my covers, and I hope other people do too. But that's the biggest takeaway, is perspective. And I really played with that with my novels, because for years, and this, I like, that first novel was written in released in 2013, was when you see something in the media, even at that time, I was seeing stuff in the media, and like I was saying, it was kind of twisted, and people would jump on that bandwagon and say, "Oh my goodness, you can't be doing that," or whatever it was, but not understanding. It's like seeing that 5-second clip, but you didn't see the 20 minutes or hour before it to understand what the context of that 5-second clip. So that's how I like to write, and that's what kept that suspense. It's a suspense action thriller. So you're fed information, and automatically your prejudices, you come to the conclusion, oh, that must be happening. But then you keep digging under the layers, and it's just fun. It's fun for me.
So you kind of get us to do the investigation through the storytelling.
Yeah.
I like it. We got another question here for you, Michael. It's, how do you explore identity through your characters?
So again, with my novels, it's multi-dimensional. It's not just told through the perception of Miguel, who is the main character. It's also cross-referenced with the reporter. It's cross-referenced with some of the other cops or military. And it just shows all these different angles. And that's why you're slowly peeling back the layer, but you're seeing it through the perspective of all the different people. So until you see through all the different perspectives, you don't know the real answer. That's, I guess, the best way I can describe that. And that's how I explore the characters, is just multi-dimensional, showing it through different people.
So did I catch right? You said book 1 came out in 2013. So when did book 2 come out?
2019, right before COVID.
And how was that to write?
Again, it was a lot of, I enjoyed it, but again, like I said, it was 6 years because I was back to work. So trying to piece off that time to finish it, the editing process, it's a labor of love for me. I'm not trying to pump these out. All right, the series is completed now, or the trilogy is completed now, but I wasn't trying to pump it out. I want people to have value and quality for their product. It's a labor of love. Like it's me. Like it's like a child to me almost. And I know that's probably really horrible to say, but I put a lot of love into it, and I want people to see that when they're reading it and see how all the pieces are interconnected. And it's like, I've had those comments, and that brings me, puts a smile on my face when people say, holy cow, how did you write that? How did you keep all those different perspectives going in your head? And I'm like, thank God, I've been blessed. So.
I think I understand where you're coming from, because when you come from a Northern Ontario town, right, we're all told when we come from a little town that you're not going to be nothing. You're not overcoming this. You're going to stay in the dumps. You're going to, and then when you overcome and you do this, you're like, wow, I did that. I was the same way when I wrote my books for the first time. I was just like, I really did it. Did I do that? So did you sit with yourself and say, I wrote a book like in 2013 when the first one came out? Like, how did you feel, Michael?
Yeah, how did I feel? I remember receiving my box of books once they were printed, and I hadn't opened them yet. And I opened that box, and for the first time to see the contents of my head or the computer, because it's not tangible. Like, it's just, it feels like you're daydreaming. It feels like not real. And you're spending like that one took me 2 years to write. So it's 2 years in my head. And when I finally held it, it was just like, wow. It was like, yeah, it was, I can't even describe, like, I want to say it's like my child, like,
You just had a new baby, right?
yeah, people probably hate me for saying that, but I love my boys. I was there for both births. I was in the room. I was so happy when they came out, but when the book was, when I received the book, it wasn't the same, but it was similar. I'll just say that.
Right? And when you hold your book, the writing, all the time, the effort, the frustrations, the editing, all of that, and then you hold that book, there's no other feeling in the world. I've had 3 amazing kids too, but when I held my books, Michael, I was like a blubbering baby. I cried my eyes out. I was just like, oh my God. And it took me 9 months to write them, so I had a baby. But unless you do it, you don't understand the feeling. You don't understand all the work that goes behind it, right? And it's like an investigation, with the police station. When you're investigating, nobody sees all the hard work that goes in behind it. They're always like, well, catch the bad guys, like today, like right now. 30 minutes, you got 30 minutes, catch this person.
CSI, it's 10 in an hour.
Right? It's like, it's not happening, and then when you write the book, and that's why I reached out to you to be on Tea Time, because I was like, I could see that look in your eyes. And when you did that interview with CBC, I could see it in your eyes that you had overcome that fear, that little boy of not being anything. And look what I did. This is my book. These are my words. This is my thoughts, my perspective on a piece of paper, and someone's actually appreciating it.
Well, okay. Now you're trying to cut me deep.
That's what I do on Tea Time. I cut deep.
So
we go deep on Tea Time. We go down that rabbit hole.
I'm going to say this. I'll let everybody make up their own mind. When I started writing my book, like I said, I was dealing with all the political frustration. That's when I first started writing it. The relief I had, like I was saying, I used to work out. I was trying to relieve that stress through exercise, and it just wasn't cutting it. When I started writing, the relief was almost instantaneous, and I cannot describe how I felt. But I can say that nobody could tell me no. I had power. I had authority. It was mine, and nobody could take it away from me. There's a lot I can say about that, because there were some people within the community, policing community, that were not happy about me writing a book.
I'm sure.
They tried to make it as difficult as possible. They tried to actually make it go away. And because of the accident, because that was my lifeline, that was literally my lifeline. What you don't know is after my accident, because it wasn't job related, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm not saying I'm not, but our pay, so my sick pay, was reduced to 75%. And then that was for a period of 6 months, and then it was getting reduced to 66%. And I was going bankrupt at 75. I needed to get back to work. And I was able to do it right before I went on long term, which I would have lost everything and would have been right back to where I started. And that was the scariest feeling for me, because I never wanted my kids to go through what we did. So when those people started making noise, and that was my lifeline, I wasn't letting go, because that was the only thing that I thought was going to save my family.
And you have to do what you have to do for your family, Michael.
So anyways, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Tea time is real and raw. And you're allowed to cry. You're allowed to laugh. You're allowed to we talked about this before we went live. We're human beings, right? And we have stories, and we have to tell them the way that we have to tell them. And this is what my listeners enjoy. They enjoy the real rawness of tea time. And getting these stories out there, I can imagine it wasn't easy. And I can imagine a lot of people didn't want some of these stories out there.
They were nervous because of what I've seen and because of what I've been involved in. They weren't sure what I was saying. But on the flip side, I've also had some very strong supporters. But it doesn't take too many negative people to really make that noise. No different than in the community. You just need one bad guy who can make a whole bunch of damage. And that's the reality of policing, right? We don't police like 90 or 95% of the people. We police only that 5%, but that 5% can do so much damage in our communities. It's not even funny. So same thing, these haters, there wasn't a lot of them, but they can make some damage and infer some things. But anyways, that's why I wasn't letting go.
Yeah. But Michael, and this is why I like to have all walks of life on Tea Time, because a lot of people, they judge what they don't understand, right? They judge because of what they've went through and the circumstances. And maybe they had a bad experience with a police officer, so they hate all police officers. But at the end of the day, a police officer is still a father or a mother. They still have their own lives as well, and they still have their own stories to tell. And I'm glad that you wrote these stories, and I'm glad that you got this out there, because I would have never found you if you didn't write these books. And we wouldn't be having this right now.
Yeah.
But Michael, we have a question here for you, and it's, how do you motivate to write after such intense work?
Well, that's an interesting question. So I'm very religious or spiritual, or I think when I first met you and you asked me those questions, I made some answers that you were like, wow, okay.
Oh, you took me down some rabbit holes, and I was like, yeah. Oh, this is going to be a good tea time.
So trying to find identity. I'm not trying to identify myself as Christian or any religion, although Christianity, I guess, fits the best. So why I say that, and coming back to that question you asked, is I've been blessed. I've been so fortunate. There's so many things, like the doctors think I should have died in that car accident. There's so many, or worse, I could have been paralyzed or quadriplegic. Like, there's so many things that could have happened just there, let alone the rest of my life. And there's a saying in the Bible, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. And I have that written where I work out. By the grace of God, I am what I am. So how do I stay motivated? How do I guess it's part of who I am, that turbo, that endless energy. Like, I do get tired, don't get me wrong. But when I have a goal to strive for, I'm trying to get there. I'm always trying to work towards that. And that goes for the same in my writing. So yes, some weeks I'm working 70, 80 hours a week. Those weeks I might not write, but I'll try to squeeze in time. Like, there was times I was waking up at 3:00 in the morning so I could get an hour of writing before I'd work out, before I go to work. because I knew after my work, I wasn't sure how long I was going to be at work for. So then I'd repeat that. And that's how I got through the second novel. The third novel was different because of different working environments that I was working in, but very similar. I just squeeze in the time where I can and make it.
And that one just came out, right, Michael?
Yeah. Yeah, that just came out.
In 2025, right?
Yeah, October 2025, October 2019, and April 2013. So the second one came out right before COVID. What you don't know is your book touring is very limited at Christmas because of all the Christmas displays. But I had a 6-month tour planned, and I was just starting, and then COVID hit. So that limited my writing or my touring, but it improved my writing. So I just jumped into number 3 and just kept plugging away until I finished it. So I appreciated the COVID a little bit, but anyways.
Well, we have a question here for you, and it's what's the biggest difference between real investigations and fiction?
Real investigations and fiction. Well, real investigations is so multidimensional as well. Is that I think it would be quite boring if you went into all the aspects of a real investigation to try to write it to make it make sense. You want to stay, for at least for me, I want to stay on the more relevant, the bigger pieces. But in order to get to those big pieces, and even as a search warrant writer, same thing. Like there's a million steps that we do to write a paragraph in, and some of my search warrants are 300 pages long. So in order to write that one paragraph, sometimes that's like a month worth of work, all compressed in one paragraph. So the difference is just focusing on the highlights, keeping the story moving. You don't want to get bogged down on all the details. Like I know there are some big name authors who have done it, Tom Clancy for one, who used to get really bogged down in the details of describing, like a weapon or a machine. But for me, the way I pace my novels, it's very quick. So I'm just hitting the high points and just trying to keep the reader engaged and not bored.
So let's talk about some of the little intro and videos that you're putting out there for the public to see. Is that part of the books? Is those part of stories in the books?
Yes, yeah. So I've been playing around a little bit with AI. There's mixed reviews on people thinking, AI. But for me, being self-published, not a big name yet, the huge savings. I've gone the studio route. I have rented studios. I have, paid contracts for photographers, videographers, for actors, actresses. I can tell you that is the price tag goes through the roof so fast. And I literally have a commercial on my YouTube. You could probably see it. It's the APOC, forget what it's called, I think, trailer. I think it's 30 seconds. And that thing cost me several $1,000s to produce. So using AI, I'm spending $200 a month at most for these programs. And I'm taking those photographs that I've paid all these photographers over the 15 years, and I've just making them do different things. And wow. But yes, so getting back to your question is, they're part of the story. I use those photographs. I purposely had those photographs taken because they're part of the story.
I'm gonna bring your books back up, Michael. Do you want to tell us how you got the name APOX?
Yeah, so my first novel, I had it like as written as the book. Like that was the title on my Word document, the book. I didn't have a title for it. My main character is Miguel Mejia. He's named after my father, who I was trying to find my whole life. Turned out like He's a Colombian, lives in Colombia. But I was trying to find him, and that was part of the goal with my novels when I decided to go that route. But I didn't know what to call the novel itself. And I'm sitting there, I'm racking my brain. And I did the same thing with my children. So very similar. I went through so many baby books looking for my boys' names. I can't even tell you. But I'm laying in bed with my boy. I'm reading bedtime stories. And my brain's still cycling as I'm reading these stories. And all these names are popping in. And then I focus on apocalypse. And I was like, apocalypse. I like it, but I thought it was going to be too much, too used, too cliche.
Yeah.
And I was stuck on it. I just kept repeating it several times. And then I just, APOC. Yeah, I like APOC. So I Googled APOC. There was no other novel titles named APOC. I chose the K because the Greek definition of apocalypse is spelled with a K. So if you look up apocalypse and just ask how it's spelled in Greek, and spelled with a K. But the meaning is different. So in English, we always think apocalypse is end of the world, catastrophic destruction, all this. In Greek, it is to reveal.
Oh.
And I was like, yes. Because for the longest time, I was an quasi undercover cop. I was playing clothes. I was always behind the scenes. I never wanted people to know who I was because, as I said, I was going after organized crime. So everything is registered in other names. I don't have very many things registered in my own name. And then I'm in this accident and I can't be a cop. But I was thinking at the time, okay, well, if I'm producing this book, I need to use something to promote myself. So I needed to reveal myself as a cop. So I thought that APOC, the apocalypse, Greek definition, fit the term for myself, for the novels, because like I said, it's peeling back the layers and revealing things as you go. And yeah, I just thought it was a great fit for both my life and for the novels.
I like it. And the way that you picked the name, I like it too, because that's how I picked my son's name. I was just laying in the bed. My girlfriend had her baby before we did. And I was going to name my son Christopher. She already had the baby before me a couple hours earlier. She named her boy Christopher. And I was like, we're not doing this. We're not having two Christophers. So then I had a sore throat, and those Rico cough drops. And yeah. I just kept saying Rico, Nico. Oh, Nico. I like it. And I spelled it with a K. And my mother-in-law at the time, she said Nicola. And I said, no, not Nicola, Nico. And then all of a sudden, Nico toys came out. Nico butter came out. Nico everything came out. And I was just like, but I that's how we get things, right? We just kind of lay with the thought and the process until it reveals itself. And I like that APOX means reveal, because that's how the name was revealed, which you just letting it sit and process it. I like it.
Thanks. Yeah. So after the name came out, I had to go back in the novel and then rejig a whole bunch of things, because I'm like, how do I make it fit in the novel? Well, then I used it as the main character's nickname, street name, and he ends up having that tattooed on his arm. So it was kind of helped reverse engineer the book and provided another layer to it. So again, another layer of
So Michael, do you like onions?
I do not like onions. I'm actually quite allergic.
But he's peeling the onion all the time. Well, I have some fun questions here for you, Michael, to lighten it up. Blue Jay blue or bold red?
Blue Jay blue or bold red? Well, we talked about that too, and I do love both Cardinals and Blue Jays. It depends on the scene, but I mean, I do have my APOC pens red.
Oh.
So I'll go
he's
red.
more on the red side.
Yeah.
Are you a Blue Jays fan?
I used to be a huge Blue Jay fan until '94, when all the major leagues struck. I was a big baseball player at the time, so I was a little disappointed, and I haven't really been a major league baseball fan to that degree. I'll go to the odd game, but
Yeah, I haven't been a Blue Jays fan since the 80s. I think when I went on my great trip. I didn't say that out loud. All the Blue Jays are coming at me now. Black represents what in your wardrobe? Power, simplicity, or focus?
I think simplicity. I don't really put a lot of thought behind. I just simple. Yeah.
And one word that defines policing.
Ooh. I truly believe policing is an honorable job when done properly. I think it serves a fantastic purpose, and I've seen a lot of positive change from doing my job. I've worked with a lot of people in bad situations and tried to help them through that. Help comes in many different ways. So I would say honorable.
And writing feels like blank.
Writing feels like blank. Well, I can tell you many times I've looked at that screen and watched that and cursed at that cursor as it's blinking at me. Like, oh, okay, come on, just one word, just think of something. I guess we can have some fun with this frustration. But
I get it. I'm a writer. Writer's block is a real thing, guys.
It's relief. I guess we'll go with relief or frustration.
I see a theme here: relief and reveal. A lot of relief and reveal.
Yeah.
Finish this. In the gray, I found.
In the gray, I found myself. I was like you brought up, you come from a northern town. You're told what my uncles told me, you'll never be a baseball player. The odds of you being a baseball player is this. There wasn't a lot of positivity that you're going to succeed. So in the gray, I found my identity. I know I was complaining about the gray earlier, in policing, but, when I found out my dad was from Colombia, I was trying to find him and I was identifying myself. Yeah, I'm Colombian. Yeah, I am Colombian, but that's not my identity. So, and like I said about religion, I'm religious, but I wouldn't call myself a Christian, not for a derogatory purpose, but that's not my identity either. My identity is me. And it might not be the cookie cutter identity that people think it's supposed to be, but I'm okay with that. And that's why I think in the gray, I find my identity.
And I want to get into this word turbo. How'd you get that name, turbo?
Well, different people attribute it to the how hard I work, how quickly I get things done, how I never stop. I can turn one search warrant into multiple search warrants because I never want to stop. I just want to get the bad guy. But it actually didn't originate with policing. It actually originated from party time. And it's red light, green light for me in many aspects of my life. When it's time to party, I party pretty hard. And one night I was drinking Red Bull vodka and I was getting pretty rambunctious, I guess is a good word. And the people around me just started calling me Turbo because I was wound up like a clock spring or something. I don't know. And then
Isn't there a cartoon or something called Turbo?
It came out many years later. But most people don't know the party story. They only know that's just Mike. His name is Turbo, and he works all the time. They just attribute it to work, but it actually started with partying.
And Turbo was a snail, wasn't he?
He was this in that cartoon.
Yeah. Everybody check out that cartoon. We're promoting Turbo.
Yeah, I forget what studio actually made that. I don't know if it's Disney or, but yeah, I've never watched it.
That was an actual good one. And Michael, what do your boys think of you today?
Whew. I'd have to bring them in. I don't want to speak for them, but I think we have a very good relationship. Um, After the accident, it definitely refocused my energy and my attention. As I said, it's not uncommon to work 60, 70, 80 hours and in a week, and that doesn't leave too much time to be with the kids. After my accident, I was at home. I couldn't leave, so they were stuck with me. So we have a really good relationship now. We did before too. Whenever I was home, I did everything I could to be with them, but it's a very fine balance. You know, when you're the breadwinner, that job means coming from where we came from means a future for my kids. So working those hours meant a future for my kids. Without the job, there's no future. So it's very hard to have both. Luckily, I have a very supportive wife who's been there to help on the backside while I'm out doing what I do.
And what do they think of the books?
Both, unfortunately, I don't want to admit this, but both of them aren't really big readers. My youngest has read the first novel. He enjoyed it. He compared it to many novels. He did get into reading a little bit after that, but then he compared it to oh my goodness, it's a big movie, huge movie, Hunger Games.
Oh,
So he thought it was similar to that, but obviously more grounded in reality and present time. But yeah, they're very supportive. They wear my swag, like I'm wearing my shirt right now. My youngest, yeah, it was just, they've been extremely supportive the whole time. I'm very fortunate for my family.
I always ask that question because, sometimes our kids are like, Mom, don't write a book. Like when I first started writing, they're like, Mom, why are you writing a book for? And I was like, because I want to. Like,
yeah, like my oldest is traveling up to Sudbury to be there for this quasi book launch in Sudbury Easter weekend. So they're pretty excited. They like being around it. And like I said, I don't like putting words.
yeah.
I would let them come and talk to you personally. I don't want to put words in their mouth.
Okay, so let's talk about this Easter event that you have. Because Easter's coming. So where can people find this event that are in the Sudbury area or want to travel to Sudbury?
So it's at the Sudbury Indigo. It's really coming from Sudbury, going back there with the finale from my trilogy. I'm really happy that they're hosting me and having me in. I'm going to have lots of family and friends that are coming to support me, who have always come to support me when I release the other two novels. And yeah, I've been so very fortunate. Cambrian College, they had me in as a convocation speaker a couple of years ago. They're coming out to support me. It's just I've been very fortunate, and and with you, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for all the questions that people have called in.
Well, for me, it's only the universe. The universe just makes me reach out to people or connect to people. It's just like, nope, there's something here. I gotta get it. And knowing how we come from the north, I know how hard it is and how hard to get ahead is. We come from an area where not a lot of people get out of that area, and they stay there for many years without accomplishing anything. So, Michael, what would your final message be for all the listeners tonight, or for anybody who would like to get into police, for the youths and the teens and all that?
Again, it's an honorable profession. Do it for the right reasons, and you will never be disappointed. And I think you do that for everything. You know, the writing, do it for the right reasons. I don't write for my audience. I write for myself, and that brings me happiness. You know, that's what that stress relief is. And that's how I said, you know, I can write what I want. I'm writing. I had full control. Same thing with everything. Like if you go into, you know, podcasting or policing or writing, do it for yourself, do it for the right reasons, and you'll never be disappointed. It's when you start looking for those other angles, I think that's where you can be disappointed. I've seen a lot of people in bad situations.
Well, I really want to thank you for this conversation, and thank you to all the listeners out there. I'm just going to do a wrap up of what tonight's tea time was. I really enjoyed myself, and thank you again, Michael, for sitting and being open and honest with me. What an eye-opening and honest conversation. Michael, thank you for sharing the truth behind the stories and for showing us how lived experiences can become a powerful tool for reflection and understanding. Your work reminds us that storytelling is not just about entertainment. It can also reveal reality that many people never see or fully understand. Tonight, we were reminded that behind every story is a person, and behind every person is a journey shaped by choices, environment, and circumstances. When those stories are told with honesty, they create awareness and invite deeper compassion. To everyone listening, here is something for you to think about after this tea time. Sometimes the stories that make us the most uncomfortable are the ones that teach us the most about the world we live in. Until our next cup, share, keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeking understanding beyond the surface. And I'll see everybody same time, same place next week, and we'll do this all over again.
Thank you very much, Liz.